What if we turn these dials into their own instruments? So it turns out, Logic lets you write custom JavaScript to control MIDI events and plugins. So I whipped together this little plugin that remaps this MIDI control knob into a MIDI note, and the instrument is triggered by this foot pedal. And because this is a MIDI plugin, that means we can use it for any MIDI instrument. But of course, the real fun begins when you start playing with two dials at the same time. Something else you may have noticed is that these dials are microtonal, which means they can reach pitches that exist between keys on a keyboard. Which means you can get some really cool effects that you can only get when you start playing around with pitches at this granular level. For instance, this. In what you're about to hear, I'm not changing any parameters like tremolo or anything like that. It's just two sine waves starting off at the same pitch, with one of them gradually lowering. Which is so cool! You can find the code for this plugin that you can paste into Logic in the description of this video. And if you don't want to worry about that microtonal business, there's a version in the description that will only play the 12 equal tones on a piano keyboard. So, why do this at all? Well, I think it's a really interesting way to think about notes again, not just as keys on a piano or frets on a guitar, but gradual pitches that we can change. And especially when you start playing with two of them in conjunction, you really start to think about harmony as literally just two pitches that vary at different rates. And it's a very analog, very real feeling way to rethink music. And this is why I love new instruments so much, because it really forces you to break out of the habits that you've already formed with the instrument that you know. Is it practical? Maybe, depending on what you want to try to do. But is it interesting? Also, maybe, depending on how you feel. There are still some little quirks to it if you start using this. For one, it doesn't write to the MIDI roll because technically it's a MIDI plugin. And also, when you start, you're going to have to move the MIDI knob around a little bit because it can't read the MIDI control value without you changing it first, which is just how all MIDI controls work. And if you don't have a foot control, you can remap it to a key or any other value that you might have on your MIDI controller. So yeah, give it a shot. Thanks for watching. Peace.